downtown freeway proved far more difficult because you had to go through established neighborhoods. And the greatest challenge facing the city planners was a thin beltway of very expensive homes in the middle of town that ran from north to south, blocking their way. You don't just bulldoze the homes of the wealthy and stay in office as a politician, right? So they didn't know what to do until one smart person studying the map discovered that there was a way to cut through this without bulldozing any wealthy person's home. And guess what it was? Overton Park. Overton Park. Overton Park, right in the center of this north-south band of expensive homes, was the perfect solution. It was the obvious gap in this roadblock of fine homes. Fortunately enough for the city planners, while there were expensive homes to the north and to the south of Overton Park, east and west were poor neighborhoods that couldn't mount any effective opposition to their plans. So, it was going to be a slam dunk. They could just do this without any problem. And not only was the park there was even an answer through the park in an abandoned trolley line that hadn't been used for years. I mean, it seemed like the perfect answer. Because this trolley line skirted the zoo, didn't even go through the middle of the golf course. You didn't even have to come that close to the art academy. I mean, they had it figured out it was going to be perfect. Just one problem. Guess what happened? This is a true story. There was an elderly lady in Memphis, Tennessee, who had some money, who determined that they were not going to desecrate the park with an expressway. So she took him to court. She took him to court. The people were outraged. Memphis needed an expressway. It was perfect to go through the park. The trolley line was a perfect location. It was the most obvious. It was the least expensive. It was the most politically feasible. But now the plot thickens. Figuring that it would just be a matter of time before they were successful, the state began to build and bulldoze. They bulldozed the homes to the east of the park. They bulldozed the homes to the west of the park. They began extending Interstate 40 toward the park on the east and toward the park on the west, while the court battles continued to rage. And guess what? The court battles continued for 20 years. That sounds fairly typical, doesn't it? Yeah. 20 years. And at the end of the court battle, Park won. You can look at a map, I swear, I Googled it, I did it this week again just to make sure I wasn't telling you a story. In fact, we were going to put it on the slide, but technical problem. Go to Yahoo or whatever, look at the map of Memphis, and you will see an amazing sight to this day. A beltway. Interstate 40 coming from the east, Interstate 40 coming from the west, Overton Park in the middle, and the two do not cross. They don't meet. They don't meet. I don't know how you explain it, but they don't. And now here's the interesting part. 30 years later, according to John McClarty, most of the people who thought she was crazy now recognize the wisdom in her opposition, cutting the park in two with an expressway. When they take their kids to the zoo today, they are quite grateful that it's not bordered by a thundering highway. When they have their views from the Art Academy to the north, it doesn't feature fences and signs and exits and semi-trucks. When they're golfing on the golf course, you can still hear the birds and not the trucks. They're fairly thankful about that. John says that Memphis still needs to solve their traffic problems. But the city, he says, would have been immeasurably poorer if they had allowed this expressway to cut through the heart of Overton Park. And that's the way it is with open places in the city. If someone is a champion of its protection, it will disappear. It will disappear. It will be used for more productive purposes. More productive purposes. The press of development will occupy every square inch. Did you know that, has it ever occurred to you that the Sabbath is a parking time? Instituted by God as a tranquil, open space in the frenzy of your life. But like open places in a city, it will disappear without vigorous protection. Don't you feel the pressures? We all need more time for work, for shopping, for doing things around the house. So the idea of a holy day, whether it's Saturday or Sunday, is just quite foreign to our culture. You know, I was intrigued. I sent out this invitation to the service today with quite an explicit statement about the Sabbath to many of my realtor friends. And I was shocked at two things. I was shocked at the anger that I got from a half dozen or so for even getting an invitation. I thought, my goodness, it's a free country. I mean, you don't have to come. I'm not forcing you. I'm just inviting you. But I was also surprised at the positive response that I got from a number of others, including the LDS bishop.